Meant to be a joke. Yeah, so, without, so straight to the point, the second panel will be discussing the challenges revolving around the Nigerian creative sector and how we can resolve these challenges. So, please welcome on stage Toby Balogun. He is the creative director and content producer for F27 Arts. Is he here with us? Let's put hands together for him. Barrister Onyekosela Fuza Fawaimi. She's a lead legal consultant for Zaida Oracle Limited. Ebenezer Ugo Akachuku is an A&R and a blockchain developer.
Yeah.
Mr. Abisagbola Oluseun John is a double Grammy nominated A&R and the CEO of Bankuli Entertainment. Mr. Oladapo Adewumi, CEO Apollo Endeavor.
A round of applause, please.
Oh, nice.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Shola Edu, he is the founder and creative director for CG Artists and Deluxe Studios. And last but not the least, Barrister Akinyemi Anyolua is a partner with ITOA Solicitors and Advocates. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you all here today. Okay, so let's get straight into business. You guys want me to sit down or should I just stand and ask you your questions? Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's very cold.
It's cold in here, man.
Very cold. So we'll start, when we talk about the creative sector, there's a lot of challenges. And when we talk about challenges, one of the challenges that people first of all bring up, or our mind keep going back to, is the challenge of funding. If you have a vision, for you to bring that vision to life, for you to execute it, you need fund. And I think it's just appropriate for us to start with the funding challenges. So first question to Mr. Oladapo. Why do you think banks and investors hesitate to fund artists, film projects, and other creative businesses? He's on the stage.
Sorry about that. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know, I'm not quite familiar with the process, but all protocol observed. Have you?
Yep.
So I think one of the issues that we usually have in the creative industry has been spoken about tonight. People still are quite skeptical about the creative industry on how they could get returns of their investment, right? And I think because a lot of creatives are still individuals, right? We don't have a structure, we don't have a process, we don't have any way where investors can really track, which is where a lot of conversations have started coming into place, where VCs, companies are coming into place, right? Because right now, for example, you like a filmmaker or a content creator or something, and you want to invest. At the end of the day, when you invest the money, how do you get the money back? You have to start to chase the person. Probably they turn off their phone and you're looking for their manager or looking for somebody who knows them in one way or the other. So I think that inavailability of structure, right, has been a huge deprivation for investment in the industry.
Thank you. So do you think that there's a Nigerian peculiarity to these issues, like maybe like the unwillingness to address this problem, or, you know, the way they say it, quote unquote, the anyhowness, the way we do business here, where we don't have regard for structure? Do you think that's like a major stumbling block for investors to come in and inject funds into the creative economy?
Not necessarily, right? Because as we speak, there are quite a number of people trying to bridge that gap, right? I think earlier, I think he's left. This one of the CEO or co-founder for what's it called, Flutterwave, right? operating as VCs to filmmakers, and then also going to the level where those people are one of the revenue generating partners that they have, right? So I just think we need more people to come into play, and then more structures to come into play, and then things will change properly.
Okay, so let's talk about alternatives. So what alternative options, mediums can creatives consider aside the traditional financial institutions like the bank and possibly the VCs as well?
Other traditional options they can look at is maybe distribution partners, right? Um, I, for one, my company, basically, we do a lot of funding and loans, right, to creatives. We're not a banking system or we're not a VC system. We basically help the creatives generate revenue from their talent and then contents. But because we also understand that they're looking for funding, we sometimes provide those services. Oh, you have a fantastic series or you have a fantastic content idea, but you don't have funds. For us, it's still good business because if you make money, we make money. So those are some of the alternative options that some of the creatives can have.
Yeah, so yeah, loan, and hopefully they don't go to loan sharks and this, this they start texting your family members and all. So now, Bankuli, you're very particular about education in the Nigerian creative sector, educating creators and also educating the consumers as well. So, what do you think education, especially educating the creatives, how long do you, how far do you think it will go in bridging this gap in terms of like people understanding their different roles, so we can attract more funding into the creative sector?
Education is very, very important. As far as creatives is concerned, apart from the talent, apart from understanding the process of how to utilize or make use of what that talent is about. You know, I always tell people education is not just going to school alone. Even as an ordinary photographer, you know, it is essential to understand that, okay, the kind of lens to use for a particular situation, you know, is important. Not to now just, you know, talk about using it as a business, you know, to follow up with the business as well. You know, you see a lot of creatives out there, they are only excited about the talent that they have. In terms of, oh, what they see, they get gaslighted, you know, they just want to do that. They don't want to understand, okay, how did the process, what brought about, how can I utilize, you know, how can I use my talent, you know, to make a better living for myself. So as far as education is important in anything you do in life, you know, as far as using your talent is concerned, you know, education is very, very paramount. You know, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, Mr. Toby Balogun, there've been advancement and maybe some bit of positivity in terms of infrastructure when it comes to the Nigerian creative sector.
Yeah.
So, but it was still a bit far from where we want to be. So, why do you think we keep having this issue, this infrastructural deficit and an inability to actually build structures in Nigerian creative industry?
Okay. I would say there are like a few things that we need to consider. I would say first thing is like the willingness for the creatives also to want to learn, right? Because if you're open to learning, you definitely be able to like, you know, solve some problems, some issues, you know, at the end of the day. Then other things that I would say we need to like, you know, build on are like certain infrastructures that would solve the problems that we're having. So infrastructural problems like creative hubs, we need like more production companies, more internet infrastructure, if you may. We don't really have like very fast internet, or we have some that are like, you know, coming up there, but they're still not as fast. We don't have like hubs or like startups for creatives, like the IT people. So I feel like we need to like create some things like that.
Oh, nice. Nice. So, now to Mr. Sholaidu. Okay, yes. So, we've talked about how there's a structural deficit in the Nigerian creative sector. Now, do you think this structural deficit is directly linked to the lack of funding? Like, people, and even more so that because this funding is now directly tied to the ability to build. So, do you think the lack of structure, the lack of proper organization, so to say, kind of like uh, get like the way they see it from outside, the way potential investors see it from outside, views it from outside, does it affect the possibility of them coming to, inject some funds into the creative sector?
Yeah, for sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm really happy to be here because I'm from an industry where we don't get to come out a lot. So I'm from the games industry. Yeah, I'm sure you don't get to meet a lot of game developers. Yes. So I've actually been making games since 2014. I've developed over 30 games published on the Google Play Store and the App Store. But one major thing that I noticed was when I decided to go out and get funding, I bootstrapped my company since 2013 till 2023 when I got to a point that I needed to scale on a different level. And one thing I realized was I wasn't investor ready in any way. Like, no, not in, like, so even the ecosystem itself, like the gaming ecosystem is not really functional or even there yet. It's like an uncharted territory. So all we just have is people that have been there for a while, OG. So there is really no structure. So while I was running my company all this while, I was just majorly running like a freelancer that has a team, you understand? So there was no proper structure to it. So even the organization or the game studios in Nigeria are not even properly like organized. They don't have proper structure, which is also my own story. Like I can tell you, we didn't have an HR person until last year.
So you serve like you're the HR, you're the
Yeah,
everything.
so like a typical startup entrepreneur probably just does all the wears a lot of hats.
Yeah.
So in the gaming industry, in the creative space, even worse. You understand? Like so, it's a lot worse compared to other industries. So because because you don't have a lot of support, maybe from the government or from investors, you don't get a lot of support. You have to do a lot of things on your own. And so for you to attract investors, you have to be investor ready. So that was why I also went into an incubator in 2023, the Orange Corners. And what that really gave me was a lot of confidence because after the incubation program, I made the top 20, then I ended up winning the major prize, which is I made top 5. Do you understand? So that only shows that, okay, we actually have what it takes if we put in the right structure into the business. So what they were able to teach me during the program was that, okay, you need to have this, you need to have that, how to write a pitch deck, how to do pitches, the right set of people to have on your team, the management team and all those things. And after that, I went for an accelerator program as well because I know I still need knowledge. You understand? Like you said, education is key. So I know I still need knowledge. So that's me transitioning my business from a traditional creative business to a startup. And that's why I'm still on that journey. But I can tell you for sure, no investor would invest in you. Even at this point, we are still not like there yet. I mean, for grants, we get a lot of grants. So for your question on alternative funding, grants is one thing that can help a lot of businesses like get to that point, build their products. And so for grants, you can still get some grants. But when it comes to like investors, there are certain requirements that are needed for you to have in terms of structure. But most people don't really meet that level yet.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. That's quite insightful. So, just on a lighter note, do you guys think maybe the startup communities should come together and just crap turtleneck? Yeah, just let it go. Just like okay, it worked with the guy from Apple, but I just like it just carries like a bad. Yeah, what do you think, you guys? Yeah. So
I
yeah,
don't see a lot of people wearing turtlenecks
yeah, don't
anymore,
wear
though.
turtlenecks. Yeah, because people think it means they're going to lose their money.
Not
Now, so
necessarily.
don't talk about structure. Oh, you want to say something on turtlenecks?
No, you can wear other things.
Okay. Yeah, so now, one thing about structure, right? One of the issues that keep recurring is the disregard for contractual relationship, contractual agreements, and usually when two creatives come together to just come up with an idea and they don't feel the need to make something binding, they just want, okay, let's just start, we'll figure it out, we'll see how it goes. So, Foza, how far do you think is an issue, or how much of an issue is this for the creative sector, the lack of standardized legal contracts and just a general disregard for legal relationships?
So, I have very, very unpopular opinions to a lot of things that have been said. And it comes from, I think, a lot of exposure to different things and different industries and understanding, especially the history of those industries. One of the things that we hear, or every time I hear, is, oh, there's no structure, there's no infrastructure, we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't have, you know. I did my MBA in 2022, and I've been doing business for 10 years, and when I did the MBA, everything I was just like, oh, but I do this, I already do this, I already do this. The only difference was an Englishman was putting an English word to what I was doing, right? So sometimes it makes me wonder, which also affects the way we draft our laws, is do we contextualize and put nuances into the systems and operations that we do as Africans? One of my gospel is that African problems need African solutions. You can't use a French, I was in France and someone stood up and said, your country is corrupt. And I said, yeah, but you taught us. And they were shocked. I'm like, yeah, you come to my country, you steal my artifacts, then you tell me that you need to build it to a certain temperature before you give it to me back. First things first, you stole it. And now I'm asking for it back, you're giving me, put it at something temperature. That's what's happening, right? And I'm telling you, the Benin Wall is still standing. How did I build that? What was the science to doing that? When COVID happened, we were creating, people were using the dongoyaro leaves, and they were telling us that we're bush, we're local, because they wanted to sell vaccines to us at $50 million. But people in, Kano State or whatever were drinking, and they were fine. Right? So these come down to the jurisprudence of what our IP was. My Lord was talking about the jurisprudence. And one of the things I asked when we're doing the cultural policy review, one of the questions I asked, I said, what is our jurisprudence as a nation? Are we capitalist or are we socialist? That's a very important question to ask when it comes down to contracts, right? It is, we like to reap the benefits of capitalism, but we want to function in a socialist context. You want to borrow money from an American who is purely a capitalist. An American will tell you, oh, my daddy died. Okay, sorry, but can you still send that email? In Nigeria, my daddy died. Hey, your CEO is coming to your office to come out. Sorry, your CEO is coming to the burial ground to help you pour sand. That's not how they work in America, right? It's a different culture. In America, when you collect money, it is, I own your life and I own your future for a few dollars. In France or in Europe, the creator is creator first. And you see these expressions in AI now is coming. Everybody's shouting AI. Everybody's excited about AI. Tech bros are wearing turtleneck and thinking that they are the future of AI. But nobody's asking and saying, you want to bring AI into when the creators have not even eaten, but you now want to cannibalize it with this technology, right? So people are excited that you can do 2 prompts and there's a video, which means that the agency that would employ 5 people to create an ad will only do 2 prompts and get a video. So where does that leave the thousands of Africans that are young and need to make money from creativity? So when you say things like standardized contracts, legalized contracts, a lot of the things that has been given to us, I'm a lawyer, I've been doing this for 10 years, a lot of the things that we see or I see in contracts are things that the UK or America has forced down on us. And the reason they forced that on us is because they've given us money and you have to act accordingly, right? So I'll give you an example. I'm dealing with an American lawyer, then he sends to me and says, your client is going to pay my legal fee. I was confused. I got a confused, say, hello, maybe I said, have I sent my own legal bill to your client? I'm confused. Is your client, they said, oh, that's the standard. I said, it's not the standard. You're working with 2 different people. Nothing is the standard. We create a standard during that operation. But it's also the language so my thing is, you say, oh, we need standard contracts. But the industry is still in its very nascent stage, right? Before we had how we are doing the operations now, there was the Alaba market, there was the distributor, there was this. One of the things people say, oh, Alaba is wicked, Alaba is mean, Alaba is this. I took the time in 14, and I went to Alaba. You know, I wore. How many of us have been to Alaba? Yeah. Right. Right. You know, my Lord said NCC is, you know, needs to do more work, which I completely agree. And when I went to Alaba and you know, we went to go and raid we paid some policemen and went to raid the people that were pirating our CDs. And we got there and the guy said, I'm confused. He brought out the agreement and said, but this is the agreement. Like, so what are you talking about piracy? He said, your guy has an accounting clause, but has never come back to check on the accounting to ask me whether, you know, so it's like, so it occurred to me that there's actually a system, but we feel, because of, we've gone out and we've seen that, oh, you sit in your house and someone sends you royalty statement. It's a different ballgame here. You function according to the context of your environment, right? Do you understand? It's like, just because in America, they will remove your head before you can get one kidney, doesn't mean that that's how we do it in Africa. In Africa, IP comes from a socialist point of view. It is, we have folklore. In America, how many folklore do they have? Miss Rachel? They don't. It's in you know, in every village, you have a folklore. You have someone singing something by Tales by Moonlight. You have a village man that passed something to something to something. It is a communal thing. IP is communal. It is not capitalist for us in Africa. So these are the things that we need to, and I was so proud. You see, please let's give a round of applause to the president.
Which president?
To the president of Nigeria.
Okay, okay.
And I'm saying that because this is the first time that there is a serious intention for the creative economy. There have been policies, you know, there have been people that have been drafted into the stakeholder meeting. There are people that they've been working. I mean, we might not see the result. You know, I keep moving from. But the first time the minister called and said, you know, when they've appointed the minister, everybody's like, who's this one? Hey, Jesus, it's not ever going to happen. She's this, she's that. And someone said, oh, I need you to meet the minister. And when I met her, she said, what do you want? I said, the only thing we want from you is IP policy and the securitization of IP. We can't do it as individuals. Let me tell you, we don't need money from the government. We just need the policies. The creatives in Africa, the young people in Africa, when they step out, bro, the West is bereft of ideas. They don't have culture like us. They don't have food like us. They don't have colors like us. They are depressed. Even when we don't have money, we're happy because we have culture.
Yeah.
So,
ladies and gentlemen, the Black Panther. Yeah. So now a big part of securing or safeguarding IP laws, even within the cultural context that Foza has pointed out, has to do with unions coming together as a body, coming together as a group of creatives to create standards that protect our own ideas, our own intellectual properties. It's a shame that Nigeria, we do not have very strong institutions when it comes to unions and bodies. So, Bankole, where have we gotten it wrong in terms of, you are part of the Nigerian music industry, you're a prominent force there, and there's the Muson, there's the Union of Artists, which have struggled to even come up with a standard to even get artists their royalties and all. So, where have we gotten it wrong, and what should we do to start getting it right?
I think I like the way you've been able to articulate what you've just said about IP protection. I will come to the question. Whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, there is a standard for everything that happens. IP protection, security-wise, content, everything, we've been talking about. And you cannot just change that standard as, so to say, as it is. I would just advise, people, lawyers, creatives, is to have better education of how to protect themselves individually. A lot of your peers who are lawyers too, when they go to school, they read law. Most of them didn't diversify into creative law, right? A lot of them are not, they don't even have an idea of what entertainment law is. They are catching up with what is going on around. So in that regard, I believe it is also important for people that want to come into this business, especially, smart people like you, lawyers like you, to also understand that there is a standard. Example, you cannot just say because Grammy is what Grammy is, you will submit your package to specification. That you want to send your package to them with your own standard. There's a standard for how, to get things done. And whether you call it capitalism or socialism, everything in life, as far as creative is concerned, is, per government, they use it to favor themselves. I'll give you an example. You're talking about music industry in America. Look at the Democrat Party. They sort of have a stronghold on what happens when it comes to their political campaign or whatever they do. You see Beyonce, you see some few top people. They use their popularity to project what the political party wants to do. And you won't find them on the other party, example, Republican. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I believe when it comes to IP protection, yes, government has to see music or even creative. They have to see them that, okay, this is a business. This is something that is worth protecting. As far as it is in Nigeria today, they just see them as, TikTokers. They see them as, they are, youth. They are jobless youth. A president in Nigeria called youth jobless youth because they are on social media, criticizing what the government is doing. That doesn't mean there's no business inside that joblessness. There's business. People are making money. Go on TikTok. You see a lot of people are there. They don't sleep till 5 a.m. making mockery of themselves. That is what some people will see it as. But at the end of the day, they are making 20K, 30K, 50K that they cannot get from job creation that is supposed to be put forward, so to say, by government. So at the end of the day, when it comes to, IP protection, government actually getting involved in this creative economy, they have to take it serious. Beyond just sitting down, talking, they have to be part of it. That's exactly what I'm saying. For the question you just asked, it is important, like I said earlier on, for people to be educated about what they're getting into. It is beyond just having that talent alone. Oh, I can sing, oh, I can make comedy, oh, I can jump, oh, I can do this. How do you monetize? How do you connect with people like this that can turn your creativity into money, at least on a level that is not as big as what we might be looking for? So for me, it is important. Sorry, I think I've missed your question.
Oh, so the question is,
it is important to.
Yeah, it's what roles do unions play in safeguarding?
Yeah, unions are very important. In the past ones with the example for the music industry, I know we have COSONs and the rest of them. For COSON, a lot of people were very skeptical because of the kind of image, the kind of, stories, people at the ends of affairs, how they fought themselves in the media concerning people's royalties. A lot of people have been skeptical about joining them. I believe it is important, that we correct all this, perception. And if possible, create more. I know you are creating a summit. You are bringing a lot of creatives together. There should be more unions. It should not be restricted to just one. COSON, and the other ones. Unions are very, very important. What they do is not just to bring, creatives together, but also to fight for their rights, to protect them, to lobby as a body, to speak, to interface with government, so to say, on issues and how to, to partner with the nation, to not just, for people to make money individually, but also to make Nigeria look good. When you have people that do, that create content, your country is not your enemy. It doesn't matter whether the country is doing bad in some aspect. Doesn't mean everything has to be anti the government. It got to a level in the last political dispensation. So to say, from the perception of what we've seen, you know, politicians were seeing creatives as enemies. I don't know if you saw that. They were seeing them that, oh, maybe they are leaning to a particular, you know, political, but it should not be so, you know. As creatives, nobody is saying that you should not, you know, vote or, you know, campaign for whoever you love. But at the end of the day, you must find a way to, you know, have that balance. We must not say because we are creatives as well, or we are going to form a union, or we are being protected by a certain union, we're going to, you know, destroy the image of Nigeria, so to say. So for me, whether you like it or not, I believe it is important we have more unions to protect even the legal community as well, doing business within the entertainment industry, so that people don't just speak individually. You know, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. First, just before we get back to you, okay. So you spoke about how even politicians might consider creatives their enemy, and I think that's a larger prejudice that kind of holds up when you consider the Nigerian peculiarity. So Ebenezer, to you finally. So now, do you think Nigeria as a nation and as a cultural people, do you think there's this bias, maybe it's even cultural, towards creatives? Maybe it's the type of job they do, especially the optics that come to it, that comes with it. I mean, just look at Mr. Toby now. Like, yeah, I mean, just can you take off your cap? Yeah, thank you. Now, yeah, so like the average 60-year-old man looking at him and looking at, like, he probably don't want his son that is 14, you know, looking up to you. Yeah, I'm sorry. No offense. Just because of your brace. So, yeah, and of course, and you look at you. Come on, you guys are creatives. Like, even look at Ebenezer himself. Look at his dress. There's possibly this bias. Maybe it's optical. Maybe it's because of the choice of job, work you choose to do, because it's not quote unquote professional. You're not a doctor, you're not a lawyer, like or nationalist like Fosa. To the question. So, do you think there's a bias, and how do you think we can maybe get them to understand better?
So 2 questions,
Yeah, possible.
but I think you just confirmed there's a bias. So
Okay,
that
I was
strikes at
biased
the
against
first
it.
question. Okay. Second question. I think you asked how do we solve that problem.
Yeah, how do you think we can solve it?
I think the answer falls down to structure. So that's like a denominating factor with everything everyone has said here on the panel. Structure. The one thing that strikes with the Afrobeat movement in Nigeria is we just have the noise, which is typical with us as Nigerians, but we don't have the actual value. I come from a digital distribution background where I have access to lots of backends with distributors. And if you walk up to someone who works in Empire right now, Empire is probably I'm just giving an example. Empire is probably the biggest investor in music, Afrobeat, right now. And they will tell you that they are at loss. They haven't recouped all the money that's been spent. And that's because, again, structure. If you look at the Afrobeat industry, there's no proper charting system. When the majors come into Nigeria, they go set up their African office in South Africa. So there's a lot of factors that makes it seem like the entire thing is a joke. I think it's just recently that things started becoming more formalized because people could see, you can't contain this thing again, or it's going viral, so you have to sit up and pay attention. So I think maybe, first of all, when that issue of structure is taken care of, and by structure I mean as an artist, I can be in my state, Lagos, and I'm making music, and I'm eating, I'm living, I'm feeding. I don't have to be a top 10 superstar. I don't have to be a Davido. I don't have to be a obese kid. But I'm fine. I can survive. I can feed my family. I can take care of my basic needs. I feel like when we get to that point where this is more common, parents and guidance, I guess, will have a lighter look on creative talent.
Thank you. So I absolutely agree with you, because I feel like when it comes to the creative sector now, there's a look about it that feels like you're not serious. Like, it just generally just look like maybe you're not I don't know if it's peculiar to Nigeria alone, but if you tell your parents you want to be even an actor, which is something that is evident, like you could see, like your parents practically watch movies and they love Odunadi, and you tell them I want to be an actor, they'll be like, you know, no, you are going to be a doctor or an engineer. So I think at the end of the day, it boils down to structure. I don't know if the cultural bias will go away, possibly in generations to come.
Culture is also a play. Sorry to cut you short. It's also a play, but we're moving out of that backwards because Nigeria is becoming more of an, even though we're still far behind, we're becoming more of an internet digital nation. Our numbers still suck. As much as it's growing, but we're still, if you see the statistics globally, you whip for Nigeria. So that is still coming up. So culturally, yes. Also, when we get to the point where internet becomes very cheap, it's like we can think things like, I was talking to an A-list artist who's also very involved in the music business 2 days ago, and we're having a conversation about why are things the way they are in terms of things like this. And I was telling him that you think internet is cheap and affordable. It's not. If you look at Netflix numbers, the numbers on Netflix are terrible. Netflix will tell you, because people share passwords and accounts a lot. If you look at Apple Music, which is probably maybe one of the top 3 DSPs in Africa, I don't think Apple have up to 1 million recurring subscribers. So these are all small data that if you look at it, you can see that the problem is actually deep. But we're moving on. We're coming.
Okay. So, first, you wanted to say something, and just to ask you a question, so you could just answer everything together. You've talked about the peculiarities, how we should fashion our IP laws and our standard around our own reality, and not maybe try to show on our own realities into what is subjective to the Western world or what is obtainable there. So again, but there should be the processes, the guidelines. So how do we, like, currently it looks like we do not have enough and there's no regard for what we even have in existence. So how do we just go through this process and kind of get people and get creatives to respect intellectual property and see it as something that its violation should come with serious repercussions?
Okay, so quick one on unions and why personally I feel unions have failed is over the years we've moved from the communal system that we have as a people to individualism. And I mean, I have a whole theory and conspiracy arguments to that, and there's also like a westernization problem out of that, right? So a lot of the unions, we've tried to do it. It starts out, I've tried to be part of some, and you get to a point, everybody's now beginning to fight for their own company, and I step out, I'm just like this piece. I come from a family of activists. So it's like once we start missing the agenda, I used to move away from it. It's not, we've left that. And also part of like a COSON problem, right? The fight that the COSON problem is having is the laws say we should only have one body doing that, because from the law's point of view, it's like one person can collect for everybody and would distribute evenly for everybody. Now, as we've grown, the capitalism has grown and everybody's like, but I made more money than the guy in Zamfara, why should be making the same money with me? Right? Which is where the ideologies now play and say, okay, have we moved as a people from this kind of ideology, and should the law reflect that, right? And this is why I say that culture really, really affects the laws that come into place. That's why we can't neglect the place of culture. That's on that side. Now, in terms of, yes, I do agree that there are standards. When we're even working on drafting drafting laws, last year I was, part of a committee and I looked at over 100 different laws to get to the draft that we wanted to submit to the government. It's a very tedious work. And I calculated the billable hours that I spent there. I spent almost like 100 hours on that. I didn't get paid for that. It's the passion and the love that I want to see that happen, right? Now, the question will now be, and this is very real issues, right, is now when the law is passed and everybody, when I started doing entertainment law, it wasn't popular. But the kind of money that boys that came last year, as they just finished from law school, and they are now lawyers, are making, I shocked. Say, I said, is it not us, we the foundation guys? You know, so it's now the question is, what do we do as a people to regard and respect and revere foundation layers so that they don't now turn to the cancers that you don't want them to be? That's a deep question that we also need to ask. So you're asking me and saying, what are the standards, what are the things we need to put and everything? One of my biggest advocacy, and you know, by the time I'm 60, one of the things I want to see and I need people to put my name on is that we fought for the IP court, you know, and that's why I'm very glad that Femi and, you know, and Ill Skills, I call him Ill Skills, I don't know why they're calling you your real name. You know, when he called me and told me that, look, I'm talking to the, I know you've been talking about this and I'm talking to the judiciary. See, the last piece of the puzzle for the exponential export of the creative economy are the lawyers. The creatives have done what the creatives need to do. They've created, they've made it popular. The business people in the industry have done what the lawyers are the last piece. I can't count up to 100 entertainment lawyers in Nigeria, and we have 38%, we have almost like 70% of the population under 40, which means that there's going to be an explosion of creativity. I handle the biggest stars in the country. I can only do 2 at a time, else I'll run mad. That's the amount of work. So if there's one lawyer to 2 superstars, and right now you have 100 superstars, it means that the community is underserved. And it means that the jobs and the briefs are going outside. But I see people like us that also want to do policy work. We can't do it because I also need to eat. So I also need to do private work. So it's slow to work. So I do agree with you, which is one of the things we started last year, is to start training creative lawyers, creative economy lawyers, right? Not just the music, not just the film, for even gaming and so. So when people come and meet me and say, you're a creative, now I can say I'm a creative economy lawyer because I'm training people in 7 different sectors of the industry. But before I tell you I'm a music lawyer, I can't do the same thing as fast as what Isioma Edigbe would do in film, because that's our specialty, right? And that's another thing about us. We would like to do jack of all trades in this country. The training they gave us as lawyer, you can do everything. You cannot do everything. And that training also needs to translate to the courts. I've been in courts if I'm seeing another 6 set of people, plus labor, plus artists, everybody's going to court. Because my advocacy now is that the local investors that have 100 million, 50 million to do that artist development that now scales you to what the big corporations will now off-stake, they are beginning to retreat because there's no protection for them. The question is, in 3 months, can I get judgment for my money? That's the speed we need to be moving. With IP, in Africa as a whole, we see IP as our right. We see another person's IP as our right. In Nigeria, I'll tell you, I'm streaming you, I'm using my data on your music. Why should I still be paying you?
Oh, you should leave him for God.
But that mentality stems from what I told you from the beginning, is everything is communal, it's folklore. When Akbala started, is you do Muslim, after Muslim fast, everybody comes to the center and someone starts playing. Yeah. That's how Akbala started. Then, before it became all these things that people are doing, Fuji man is like, K1 will just sit there and say, Bankuli Yoshe, mommy, he's paying you, you're happy, you'll be like, my guy, take money. That's how it started. That's not music started. I mean, in America, it started from drugs, right? That's how they funded their industry. These are the realities we need to start having conversations about. My advocacy is that, and which is the final one before I drop the mic, I know I'm talking too much, but it's like the lawyers are the last missing piece of the industry. Are we working on it? Yes. We're working to get trained. We're also talking to the judiciary, we're talking to the government to make sure that there's a faster process to justice. Let me tell you something. The moment you lock one person up, one artist that decides that, or one filmmaker that decides to carry money and run away, or one artist to walk out of contract, everybody will fall in line. In Nigeria, one thing, when one person, they say you are spraying money, everybody was scared. When they arrested one person, what happened? I mean, they are still spraying money, but...
They are still spraying money.
They are still spraying money.
Of course. And nothing will happen to them.
Something will happen to them.
Nothing will ever happen to them.
Okay, God, try it.
Hello, nothing will ever happen to them now.
I don't. Do we have people
I
in
don't-
government here? I don't know. So that's up to
We
you.
don't have people in government, but we have some people in
Okay.
entertainment.
Alex says
Sorry.
he's an EFCC ambassador, which is
I don't spray money, by the way.
so
Exactly. Let's just put it out there.
thank
Nobody
you.
knows my daddy.
That's been quite
Oladapo, you
insightful.
want
Okay.
to say something?
Yes. Just to add my own 2 cents to the entire conversation, right? So for me, there's a major conversation that we need to keep having, which is collaborate and connect, right? And I feel like we're still very fragmented. Everybody are professionals in their own different industries, but we're not talking to each other. So we're kind of using our own level of understanding and knowledge and professionalism in our own field to kind of create solutions for a different field, right? And for example, we're talking of IP and all of that. For a typical, let's say a content creator, for example, he comes up with a good idea, shoots the content, posts it online, right? Tomorrow, I mean, it's something I've seen happen over and over and over again. Tomorrow he wakes up and he sees someone else who he doesn't know in one other state who has watched this video, turned on his phone, shot that same concept from A to Z, right? Without altering anything or adding any value. And that person is even getting more views than he is and making more money than he is. That's theft, right? Because that person conceptualized it. There's a difference from when you have the idea and you keep it. And then there's a difference from when you ever actually put it out and then someone steals it. Now, there's a level of conversation, union, right, need to start to come into play. And then collaborate and connect with policymakers, right? And we're looking at the situation whereby, oh, you stole someone else's content. Should it be on a grassroots level where we're talking of the documentation of your idea needs to be submitted? I don't know. Should we talk about the level where you want to engage platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, right? Where they can implement this level of, restrictions on people stealing. I mean, because the moment I upload that video, right, the system understands that I uploaded it first, right? So can technology play a role where it understands, oh, this same video is a spitting image of this same person's idea. There's AI, right? And then basically implement. So those are the type of conversations we need to start to get into to protect people on IP and in technology. And then coming into the way people see creatives and stuff. I think it's cultural that has led to stereotype, right? Yeah, a long time ago. What was profession before? It's lawyer, doctor, and they're always clean shaven. Bankers, and the creative industry is still very new, right? So we have our own outlook. You can't blame us, right? So it's normal for this process to go. If you go to somewhere like Atlanta, the police officers in Atlanta are all on dreadlocks. Largely.
Even with tattoos.
You go even to the bank. We're not even talking of creative. We're saying normal people who do professional jobs, even doctors. And it's normal for them. So that's their own, way of living, right? So for us, it's not normal. It's gradually becoming because they're seeing people who are looking like that becoming more successful, and they're beginning to understand that they're not actually bad actors, right? They're just people who are creative, and this is how they live. So I think over time, it'll rub off good.
No, I just wanted to when he talked about uploading content and being able to, so that has existed for a while now. It's called Content ID. Whenever you upload anything, especially on YouTube, YouTube is very strict with it. Whenever you upload anything.
It only protects this video. It doesn't protect when you recreate it.
Yeah, actually, when you recreate it, yeah. So sometimes it actually flags it. If people remix it, and it's not all the social media kind of have a remix thing now. But even if you don't, so once you pick it up and you use it, so there is a way they just tag everything. And sometimes I can't wrap my head around the technology, but YouTube is very strict with it.
Devil's advocate, but we love TikTok.
No, TikTok is a trending platform. It's for trends,
But it
right?
encourages what you're talking
No. There's a difference from original content and trends.
But it's encouraging, at the base of it, it encourages what you're talking
So
about.
YouTube is original content, drama, scripting, all of that. TikTok is, hey, everybody's jumping on from here to here.
But at the base of it, it's recreating the same thing that I've done, but I get more views than you.
No, that's trends. That's what trends is. A movie or a content is not trends.
Yeah, maybe a TikTok trend is not particularly original. You
It's
just
short form content and a long form content. Fundamentally, they enjoy the same IP protection.
No, they don't.
okay. Yeah, we would have to take these debates.
No, for real. No, they don't.
Is it on a legal point of view or from a social point of
No,
view?
no, no. On the creative point of view.
Okay,
exactly.
so that's this
The
is a
moment
lawyer,
it is
this a
under 1
creative.
minute, you can't track it.
That's
The
from-
moment it is under 1 minute. That's why if you notice on TikTok, there are some songs. If you use somebody's songs on any video, the moment the video is over 1 minute, the system, they will flag it. They will tell you that no audio, use another
Agreed.
audio.
100% agreed. But I'm telling you that if you come to me as a lawyer and say, Sue, the same short form, the same law is what I will use for the short form content, and the same law I will use for the long form content, which is your idea has been, your work has been replicated. But I'm telling you now that this is also part of the things that the tech that has enabled that idea and mentality subconsciously to explode is TikTok.
No, so this is it. TikTok is based on short form trend content. They're basically saying create something to make other people keep creating. So already you creating something on the platform understands that it will be recreated. Do you understand?
So yeah, but so if
if
I
you
don't
want
take
to
that
create
same mentality to YouTube, why
No,
am I
I mean
wrong?
YouTube. That's why I'm saying
let
YouTube is a
them,
full-fledged content.
Eh,
It's
but
not. It's not trend.
subconsciously, why am I wrong? That's what I'm trying to explain.
Gentlemen,
Hold on, let
gentlemen,
me
thank
even
you.
just
Wait.
add something to it.
Yes,
Foza.
Bakuli, don't add.
If you notice on Instagram, they provided all the music that you can use.
Yes.
The moment you exceed a certain length of that audio, it will automatically. You understand what I'm saying?
So I'm trying to tell you that this
Because they don't want you to sue. I'm
and,
talking
and
of
this is
Instagram.
these are the pros and the cons of tech. It is also and that's why law always tries to play catch up. This scenario, from the law's point of view, the same law protects you, whether it's short form, whether it's under 1 minute, whether it's whatever it is, and the long form version of it. And subconsciously, as humans, it just in my mind, I'm just like, oh, if I can do it on TikTok, why can't I do it on YouTube?
No, so this is what I'm saying. The platforms, right, have different policies and guidelines. You engage in it, have agreed to. It's law, it's legal.
But
so TikTok, I said, if you upload your video short form on the content, it's allowed for people to recreate because it's a trendy platform.
But subconsciously.
YouTube, like you said, has content ID.
But
They are
subconsciously.
creating systems to protect people because they want people to be more original.
But subconsciously, what is the engineering in your mind?
It's not me. I'm not TikTok.
No,
It's
no,
TikTok.
I mean, that's thank you. That's any TikTok.
All
YouTube,
the
executive, yeah.
entire platforms, they have their guidelines. If you notice,
Agreed.
even on YouTube,
Bakuli.
because they saw that. Sorry,
Okay, please,
because
after
they saw that.
we have to drop this subject.
Sorry. You know, people are enjoying.
Please, you people should agree with Foza
Hold
so
on.
we can go home.
We agree.
Sorry.
Foza, I agree
Please.
with you.
See, I'll round up. No,
Yeah.
we're not attacking each other. TikTok. What is happening on TikTok is also happening on YouTube. They call it Shorts. If you notice, even Instagram too, they're trying to create something like that because they are saying that okay, people are creating trending videos, and there is a kind of traction to that particular app. And before you can do that, it's already in their guidelines. You understand what I'm saying? So if you have a problem with any platform or anybody using your original content, not your vocals and somebody's beat that you didn't pay for, all you just need to do is from back end, you can flag it.
You
People
can actually
flag,
report
you know,
it.
they flag videos, they flag audios on YouTube. They take down, that's the word. They take down every second.
Nice, and we're going to take down this conversation now. Thank you. It's about time. So now to round up, Toby.
Yeah.
There's a cultural prejudice, there's a trust deficit. I mean, you're like you embody that prejudice. Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
So now, How do you think we could like as a creator you could bridge this gap now? Because and you say something quick, Ebenezer will say something quick, then we can round up.
Okay.
So now I feel like for an investor, so to say, there's always this mistrust. They feel like they cannot trust maybe the average creative with their investment with their money. They
Yeah.
can just like you inject $500,000 into a photographer's business, and it's riding a Rolls Royce the next day. You understand? Yeah, you give an artist some money, like Ebenezer is in here now, he knows how this works. You give an artist an advance, and he buys a Benz, and so there's that has created a trust deficit, especially now. It's not coming from the investor's perspective or from the larger populace, which is like maybe culturally, like there's a cultural bias to that. This one now it's created by the, say, the quote unquote the anyowness of the creative
Yeah.
themselves. So how do we, you know, figure this out?
I'm not sure there's a lot, the individuals can do about it. But at the end of the day, it boils down to like value proposition and perhaps learning. Um, Again, like I mentioned earlier, I would encourage the creatives also to learn. Um, Nobody can really tell you how to look but yourself, right? So if you're able to like work on yourself, curate your looks as well. There's another thing that I think creatives need to like take into consideration, which is personal branding, right? Um, there are ways that you want to look that would communicate the fact that you are a creative. And there are ways that you would look that would also say something totally different about you. And that can, in a way, reduce the trust that potential investors or even people that want to work with you would, approach you or work with you. So yeah, I would say it's something that has to do with personal values, so basically. Your second question?
No, it was one question.
It was very broad. Oh, you want to chip in? Okay.
Yeah, so Ebenezer, yeah.
Sorry, but
Should I
I'm
repeat
not
the
sure.
question?
Yes, please.
So I was saying there's a trust deficit created in the between the creative sector and the consumer, even the investing community. And this trust deficit was created by the creatives themselves due to their irresponsibility in terms of managing creators' investment. For example, like say a label gives an artist an advance, and this is your marketing budget, this and that, and you do not use that judiciously. You use it for other reasons, and now that creates a larger bit of problem because this person does it, that person does it. This one try to get out of contract. This person try to get out of contract, and it now paints a larger picture that there's a community problem. There's a community problem, and it creates this bias against that community, and even the person, the creative who might or who is more responsible, more trustworthy, gets to suffer from that bias. So how do we? I think. Do you think there's a? Again, I feel like it's individual, it's subjective. You cannot like maybe legislate individual morality, but what can, as a community, so to say, what can you do to make this like to remedy this situation? Do you have to throw people under the bus? Do you have to like put your foot down and maybe unionize and say that you have to vet like an entrance level? Like, what do you think?
Okay, so you painted two pictures. First picture is a scenario where artist gets an advance and blows it. Second scenario from what I could tell is you painted a scenario where artist says, I want to walk out of the contract, right? Two conversations.
Things that just essentially makes them untrustworthy.
Untrustworthy.
Yeah.
Okay, so me, I'm an executive, huh? And I'm just going to say it the way it is. Thank God there's no artist here. The truth is, there's a very silent beef between artists and execs, because even execs don't trust artists. Like, Bizu left here. He made a tweet some days ago. It was like, he said himself, the artists don't care about you. They just want to just get their way and blow and just walk all over your head. But the game is the game at the end of the day. So if I have to answer your question, the first case scenario, you can't really stop it. I think it's also a cultural thing, poverty mindset. You just get the money and you just want to blow it. Because an artist who's actually committed to his career isn't going to do that. I also manage some artists as well. And I've been privileged to see them raise funding. And I can tell you that I saw two different things. This artist got the money, he's buying chains, is in Ibiza, he's in the UK, he's carrying babes. Other guy got some funding and he puts it back into his gig, into himself. He's taking pictures, he's trying to brand himself, do things for himself. So it's relative. You can't really put a finger on it. Other side of the coin, where artists says, I want to walk out of the contract. This is an issue that occurs a lot in the music industry. Let me give you an example. One that people will know. Emperor Jeezy and Kiss Daniel, so many years ago. I was privileged to work with them 2014, at the time when we had the catalog, because I had a distribution company called Free Me. Emperor Jeezy spent so much money back then, about 100 mil in 2014 on that guy alone. And one day he wakes up and he's like, I'm done. So it brought up so many conversations, and we started thinking, how do you curb this situation? So we started looking at the majors, the Sonys, the Universal. Those guys actually move with more than just money. So they come to you as an artist, they come with machinery, they come with structure. So you can leave tomorrow, you can walk, right? But the structure stays. The infrastructure, it remains. So let's say an Emperor G, for instance, let's say let's say, built infrastructure that is able to cater to not just one artist, but different artists. Even if Kiss Daniel leaves tomorrow, Techno will walk in through the door and use his facility, use his infrastructure. So I feel like if music investors actually have that mindset where you understand that it's not just about cash, there's other things you could also exchange to get catalog from artists, and then it kind of like it mitigates that risk for you as an investor. So tomorrow you're not sitting down there and the boy comes and says, I know do again, I want to come out.
All right, this
Okay,
just
sorry,
very,
okay.
very, very briefly, so we could round up. Yeah,
All right.
yeah, go
Okay,
ahead, so we
cool.
can round up. Yeah.
So, again, I think this is where we need to talk about collaborate and connect, right? And also, we talk about structure. All the time, the structure doesn't necessarily have to be the creative themselves or the investor themselves. It could be third parties. And this is where we could talk about investment management companies coming into play, right? If you have an investment management coming into play and an investor brings in money, you could say, oh, for the creative, instead of us spending 1 million or 2 million, right, on a daily basis to shoot content regularly, I think it's time we take 500K or 600K from the investment and invest into equipment so that it reduces the cost of what we're spending. So I think an investment management system also needs to come into the creative space as well to manage
All right,
this.
all right. Thank you guys very much for a very, very insightful panel. It's been wonderful. We've learned a lot of stuff. Thank you, Foza, for your advocacy. Thank you, Toby. Thank you, Blizzard. Thank you, Bankuli. Thank you, everybody. It's been wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, the audience, for staying this late. We know we start early, so apologies for taking this long. And yeah, congratulations, Alex and Femi. We wish you guys the best of luck moving forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. In the interest of time, we won't be able to take any questions, but let's just take a quick group picture and then we wrap this up. Alex, okay, wonderful. In the meantime, I'd like to recognize the presence of Mr. Yinka Obebe of Pop Central Television. A round of applause, please. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'd like to also recognize a few other people. Arthur Ngube of Silverbird Television, the brand manager. Welcome. Thank you so much. Dr. Ogechi Onyemem, Bella's Education Services. Hello. Welcome. Thank you so much. And thank you all. Thank you.